Temtem is an ambitious MMO take on Pokemon-like games. This project was successfully funded through Kickstarter, reaching multiple stretch goals. Early access opened the floating islands of Airborne Archipelago to the masses in January of 2020, 6 months after the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield. The timing was perfect, as fans of Game Freak's franchise became more and more tired of the monotony and stagnation surrounding Pokemon. The promise of a sprawling new world, populated by players and various interesting creatures, seemed enticing. I'm pretty sure that most of us gamers who grew up with the Pokemon, both TV show as well as games, always wanted an open world MMO where we could catch majestic creatures and battle against each other. Developers at Krima decided to meet our expectations with their aspiring project. Well, it's time to Temtem up. This review is based on 103 hours of total playtime. From that total, 75 hours were spent in early access, then the rest was obtained in 1.0 version of the game. Of course, I have finished the whole story. I have acquired 34 out of 47 total achievements available in the game, which translates to 72% achievement completion. Also, I spent a decent amount of time battling other players in competitive PvP. And to sum it up, I have played Pokemon Red, Silver, Gold and Crystal years ago on my old Game Boy Color. I have also finished Pokemon Platinum. From the more recent titles, I played both Pokemon Sun and Moon. Haven't touched Sword or Shield. I'm stating it purely as I might be using Game Freak's products as points of reference. And just to be fully transparent, this review is going to be quite long. The way I design my videos is similar to an article or a book. If you are interested only in some specific parts or issues, then timestamps are there for you. If you are interested in my full opinion about the game, then enjoy. Temtem unashamedly draws a great dose of inspiration from the Pokemon franchise. It's apparent both in gameplay and the story. Our grand adventure starts in a small, lovely town called Zadar. Players create their characters using a limited set of tools. There is an explanation to this poor choice of clothes and hairstyles. You are supposed to unlock more outfits and various cosmetic modifications later in the game. Our character starts their adventure as an innocent kid, stepping into big shoes of a world-wandering tamer, eager to explore the floating isles and become the very best, like no one ever was. First task, meet up with Professor Konstantinos. Soon, players make their first dramatic decision, choosing their first Temtem. Right away, similarities to the Pokemon franchise hit players at every turn. Small-scale starting town, Professor granting us a starter creature. Then we meet our rival, Max, an interesting, ambitious kid who is very eager to prove themselves. Temtem hosts its own version of gyms. In here, there are called dojos. Each dojo has its leader. During adventures, players have to defeat every prominent dojo figure in order to progress the story. This time though, we do not collect any badges. The main plot point of our adventure is taking down the criminal organization known as Clan Belsoto. Another clear nod to Game Freak's franchise, as in each Pokemon game, there's an evil team trying to employ their devious schemes. From Team Rocket to Team Skull. Temtem uses Clan Belsoto as an arch nemesis for the players. Tamers slowly uncover mysteries of this thuggish organization, but it turns out that Belsotos are more powerful than we first thought. The scale of conflict rises to the point of a war, an actual war, and I felt like this creates a dissonance in the storytelling. You see, up to this point the story, while momentarily a little bit more serious, was generally speaking light-hearted. In case of games like Pokemon, I usually place the bar of my suspension of disbelief quite low. This kind of games usually appeal also to the younger audiences, so a lot of the conversations and events are simplified. For example, a side quest in Temtem to find a dream job for 3 kids. So, the player, a total stranger to those children and their mother, offers to find people willing to take those children as apprentices. One of those kids wants to fly on an airship, the other wants to become an artist. So players approach airship captain or an artist on another island, and they are like, yeah, why not? You see what I mean? There is this vibe of a cartoony oversimplification. Another good example would be resolving doubts about someone by challenging them to a duel. You know, things like, I don't believe you. Let's tempt them up so I will know if your heart is pure through your fighting skills. As I said, there are numerous logical conversations and quests, but the game has this overarching feel of cartoonish lightheartedness. So when all of a sudden gears change and we take part in a war effort with people being injured and talks about death and blood, it feels weirdly out of place. At least that's my opinion. Temtem really tries to sell us on this idea that we have a choice during conversations. Truth is, we don't. Any dialogue options given to the player are inconsequential because the outcome is imposed. The only exception are the quests resolving around remembering facts about the game's world. When it comes to various characters, the writing is uneven. There are multiple more serious personas, but I have a feeling that goofy NPCs are the majority. In that pool of characters, there are very few to stand out. They are more like caricatures focusing on a single trait which is then overexposed. It made NPCs like Adia Teray insufferable. She is hasty, unapologetic and jealous of the player. Also, she constantly belittles our efforts. Temtem does not have any actual voice acting. NPCs just make some noises from time to time, but that's all. The heavy lifting in terms of selling the story and the character emotions is done through uneven writing and reliance on emotes during conversations. Unfortunately, there are very few emotes, which means characters like Adia use the frustrated emote in 50% of her conversations. There are some characters who grew on me though. Detective Carlos or Dojo Master Musa are great examples. While I kinda dislike Max, they are the best written character in my opinion. Our rival goes through actual growth during the story of the game, with true motivations behind their actions. Max's story explores a person's needs for recognition and prestige. It dives deep into ways of manipulating others and, dare I say, abuse. I have just one more issue with the main narrative. It's the pacing. The whole main story took me about 50 hours to complete. I didn't rush it, so for some people it might be less than 50 hours. Anyways, there are moments when the story drags. Our character is tasked to backtrack a couple of times or visit places which feel inconsequential to the whole story. For me, the narwhal parts were the worst. They are designed to be the breaks from running through islands. They are supposed to help you build a connection with the crewmates, but to me they felt like a set of boring errand runs, running from person to person and talking to them. What's important here is that this is an MMO, but players cannot freely spread their wings until they finish the main story arc. The order in which we visit islands is fixed. Players start the game with a lot of restrictions. We cannot swim, cannot climb mountains. Temtem is designed in a way where players are supposed to gradually unlock various exploration improvements, as well as quality of life improvements. Connecting those rewards to crucial main story moments feels like we are truly progressing. Unlocking new ways of terrain traversing is satisfying. The downside of this solution is obviously that earlier parts of the game feel very restricted. The restrictions are fully lifted after finishing the main campaign. Side quests vary in their scope. Temtem offers some short tasks, but there are also many endeavors requiring to cover a lot of ground. Assignments quickly fill our quest logs. Variety of goals is decent, but it's easy to spot some general themes in quest design. Multiple tasks ask player to catch and trade a Temtem in order to progress. Then there are those interesting, let's call it lore missions. Player will be asked a series of questions about an event or person from the game's world and has to answer them correctly. It challenges tamers to actually pay attention to what's happening around them. Of course, you can cheat it by using the internet, but the idea is definitely an interesting one. Players would be wrong to think of those side activities as inconsequential. While some of the rewards might feel like filler content, the majority of side quests award players with meaningful upgrades. A teleporting device, which pretty much becomes a new standard way of fast travel. An option to have a mount, which from this point onward allows players to skip encounters in tall grass. Those are really big, important quality of life improvements, all hidden behind side content. Without checking on the internet, players won't even know which one of the assignments results in crucial enhancement. The same is true for various items equipable for our Temtems, some of which might be dominant in PvP. It's an interesting game design choice to place so many important items behind side activities. At the same time, it kinda makes those activities mandatory. There is one tiny problem with the quest log and quest tracking. On their journey, players will interact with sizable amount of NPCs. Then, while traveling, they might complete a couple of assignments. Unfortunately, the descriptions in the quest log do not remind us where to turn in the quest. Players have to travel around islands and check map for question marks. The main narrative as well as the side content, while competent, are quite inconsistent, being a mesh of good and bad ideas mixed with weird pacing. If you have a friend and both of you want to enjoy the story together, then you can form a co-op team. The state of the story will accommodate to the player who is earlier at the narrative. Airborne Archipelago is a world worthy of exploration. Pristine azure waters of Dennis Island's Silaro River, with coral formations rising high above the water level. Impressive Omninesia, the Mir Isle, where players explore 3 different levels. From the lowest level, covered by the ashes of Anak volcano, to the upper level, hanged on the leafy branches of a great tree. Each one of the floating isles offers a great dose of creative variety. Another great example would be Tukma, an island where the surface is covered in toxic waste, so people dwell deep inside these sprawling cave systems in order to find shelter. It's a home to toxic and crystal Temtems. You see, every island has its dominating theme, which usually fits the main 2 Temtem types residing on that island. Artists at Crema did an outstanding job by creating this colorful, vibrant world. Graphics by itself aren't very advanced. Textures are pretty simple with lower amount of details. Yet, this visual art style does such a perfect job at resembling an actual anime show or brightly colored, eye-catching cartoon. Creature design is in my opinion an absolute highlight of this game. Temtems look impressive, just like Gen 1 or Gen 2 Pokemon. Not overdone, yet not too simple. With a great amount of characteristic details, each one with a voice or a roar of its own. Temtems are cute, some look goofy, and there are the ones that look dangerous. But all of them fit within this visual art style. If I never knew about Temtem and someone just showed me parts of this game, especially some of the creatures, I would have been sure it's from the next Pokemon title. And I really hate to compare those 2 games all the time, but let's be real. With the art style so closely resembling Pokemon, story and gameplay taking so many elements from Game Freak's franchise, those 2 games compete for the same audience.
Pikachu?
Pikachu, go away! You are not from this franchise.
Pika.
I told you to go away!
I think that developers at Crema knew that this kind of comparisons will be drawn and might be used against them, so they exceeded at their work. There's so much passion and care in the design of the whole game. Crema had to prove that their creature collecting game is worth your time and money. Nowhere is it more apparent than in music and animations. Let's start with the latter. Recent Pokemon titles got some well-deserved flack for being lazy in the animations department, notably combat animations for the creature's various skills. In Temtem, every creature moves differently. Every ability has a different animation assigned to it. From the very minimalistic ones to the stronger skills having small cinematic built in. The absolute best part of the move pools used in battles is the existence of signature moves. There are Temtems who have their own unique skills with full-blown cinematics. Just imagine the effort of creating a sequence of beautiful animations just for one ability, for one single creature. This is commitment. Human characters could use more animations though, especially during conversations. The same emotes used over and over get old really fast. Now music, another highlight of Temtem. Crema outdid themselves in creating beautiful, mesmerizing pieces for each of the floating isles. Bah, most subzones in each island hosts its own soundtrack, the quality of which is impressive. I loved spending time in Arbory on the routes influenced by Scottish culture. The music there just feels invigorating. Another great yet completely different track can be heard in the city of Vumbi. Just listen. The talented composer Damian Sanchez put a lot of effort into Temtem's soundtrack. I love how the regular combat theme changes with the islands we fight on. The template is the same, but you can hear the influences of each region's themes. What's more, there is specific combat music made for bosses, dojo battles, and for fights against Bel Soto members. So, as this is an MMO, it requires constant internet connection. Thanks to its simplistic graphics, the hardware requirements are pretty low, so many people should be able to join in on the fun. The only server issues that I encountered happened in a 24-hour window after launch. There were disconnects and a lot of lag, but Crema handled the situation quite fast. After that, as well as through the whole early access window, when I played, I had zero issues with connection. The game runs swiftly, no frame drops, close to no bugs or glitches. I had zero crashes and, aside from the launch window, no disconnects or lags. This was a launch worthy of AAA title, not an indie studio. Congrats! I think I had only one bug where I had to restart the game. During combat, my Temtem stopped responding to my commands. Relaunching the game solved it. I want to mention here that Crema is pretty good at noticing some flaws of their title. During early access, I noted to myself that inventory is kinda convoluted and hard to navigate. This problem was partially resolved in patch 1.0. It's definitely much easier to navigate through inventory menus right now. Temtem does not aim to revolutionize the creature collecting genre. On the contrary, it borrows numerous proven mechanics and adds a little spin to some of them. A Temtem mark. The first noticeable change appears very early in our adventure. Players choose their starting creature, but after that, they are given another one. You see, Temtem uses 2v2 combat formula instead of 1v1. It allows for deeper strategizing options. Developers at Crema seized this opportunity by introducing synergies. Various skills can be upgraded if a friendly Temtem on the battlefield represents a required type. A quick example. The Earthbreaker technique is a strong earth-based damage dealing ability, but if used with electric ally present on the battlefield, it deals electric damage instead of earth and also applies a negative condition to its target. Synergies widen the tactical options available in the game. Combat is pretty standard. Temtems use their techniques in turns. Order of those turns is specified by the speed statistic of each creature combined with the priority of the used ability. Each Temtem has to choose 4 techniques available for them in combat. Other than that, players can use items during combat. If they fight against Wild Temtem, then they can try to catch it. There are 2 new mechanics to differentiate combat experiences from similar games. stamina bar with a statistic associated to it. The second addition are the hold moves. Hold abilities are stronger skills where you need to wait a certain amount of turns before using them. Stamina is a mechanic restricting Temtem's combat options. Each move costs stamina points. If you spend more than the creature has, it will also damage itself and become overextended, which will force it to rest in the next turn. This resource refills slowly in between turns. If you want to regain stamina faster, let your Temtem wait and rest on their turn instead of using a move. Those two mechanics are, in my opinion, a great addition as they increase tactical options. You cannot spam the strongest attacks. Players need to strategize how to sneak the hold attack through enough turns to make it work. It synergizes well with the competitive meta of switching creatures constantly and trying to outpredict your opponent. Combat in Temtem heavily relies on creature typing and usage of its super effective attacks. There are 12 Temtem types in the game. It works in a very rock paper scissors way. Temtem types have their strengths and weaknesses against other types. I never liked this mechanic in Pokemon games. I'm not talking about typing or about the presence of super effective moves. I dislike how much of an edge it can give to a Temtem. Some moves deal 2 times the damage, while other specific type combinations might be even 4 times weaker to a certain attack type. It encourages heavy counterplay and I personally dislike it. Listen, I'm okay with super effectiveness and all, but in most competitive games above of 20-30% to damage is already colossal. Just imagine a weapon giving you plus 400% damage. It creates a situation where a Temtem might be placed on the battlefield with 0 chances of winning a fight just because of its typing. This is what I dislike. I would prefer a system with moderate damage increases, but this is just my opinion. Temtem is designed to take into account strengths and weaknesses of its combat system, and as a whole it works fine. It just creates this environment of trying to outplay your opponent by predicting their Temtem switches and trying to strike in the most effective way. It's fine. This is how Pokemon did it for years. I would just prefer if the system gave an advantage based on typing without making it totally overpowered. It's clear that Crema's goals are to create balanced and reliable PvP combat system. There's very little RNG, as RNG is a bane of competitive play. Skills are straightforward. There are no chance-based mechanics, so if a move makes any Temtem sleep, then it's guaranteed. No percentage-based effects. Every ability's description is pristine clear. It creates a very healthy, competitive combat experience where player skill counts the most. Your standard team size is capped at 6 Temtems. Players wander around the world, facing other tamers and clashing in spectacular battles. Crema adds items to let players replenish health of their team in order to keep them going a little bit longer. Once the whole team faints, player will be returned to the nearest medical station. Early combat experiences are very predictable. Opponents do not switch their Temtems, so it's easy to abuse them. What's great is the fact that at the later stages of main story, Crema starts to introduce harder fights where opponents switch their Temtems based on your team composition. A procedure slowly teaching players about more advanced combat mechanics. Endgame opens up new activities and challenges for the players. Some of them require creating a competitive team. It's a team consisting of 8 Temtems. Each match which uses a competitive team, whether it's PvP or PvE, adds a new phase before combat. It's a draft phase when both opponents take turns in picking and banning Temtems. I love this addition. It creates a new layer of strategy. Masterful draft might place an opponent in heavy disadvantage if conducted properly. Let's talk about Temtems and their statistics. Creature stat spread is similar to the way Pokemon does it. There are 2 noticeable differences though. The first one is the addition of stamina. It allows for using more techniques or moves with higher energy cost before Temtem has to rest. The second difference hides in stat totals. In Pokemon, stat totals of various Pokemon are all over the place. And I'm talking about final evolutions, not the pre-evolved Pokemon. So Mightyena or Marowak's 420 stat total goes against Dragonites or Tyranitar's 600. This kind of widespread works against weaker creatures, making them unfavorable to play in competitive matches. Of course, you can make an argument that with enough care you can make some of them work. or that their traits offer some crazy spins despite their lower stats. But in general, it's way easier to create a strong team based on Pokemon with higher stat totals. In Temtem, those totals are much closer. We start at Saku's 428 and end at Tateru's 488. This smaller gap in stat pools means that it's easier to make a good use of Temtems with a little bit lower attributes. Do not be mistaken though, Temtem already has a developed meta where certain creatures are considered to be the top performers, while there are some which are perceived as garbage. In the end, it boils down to stat distribution, types, traits, and move pool of a creature. If you want a strong offensive Temtem, you want to pick one with good offensive abilities, natural high attack and speed attributes. If you want a stalling, tanky Temtem, you want a typing with the least amount of weaknesses, as well as high base HP, def and special def stats. Talking about statistics, we have to touch on SVs and TVs. Each stat has its SV and TV value. SV stands for single value and is assigned to Temtem by the game. It's mostly uncontrollable by the player. SVs range from 1 to 50. With the ideal situation being when a Temtem has SVs for all its stats at 50. You see, not every Temtem of the same species is born equal. A Crystal at level 15 will have a lower max HP pool if it has only 20 SV assigned to HP stat. A different Crystal at the same level who has 50 SV assigned to HP will have higher max HP, which makes it superior in combat. TVs stand for training values. Those are the values which are increased by defeating Temtems. Each Temtem has a total of 1000 TVs to assign through training. A single stat has a max cap of 500 TVs. The game offers items which allow players to decrease the TVs pool in one stat in order to then allocate them somewhere else. Cutting edge players who want to be the very best have to play around max SV Temtems and then allocate TVs skillfully. Creating this kind of perfect composition requires a lot of dedication and a decent amount of grind. While there is a chance to catch wild max SV Temtem, it's more reliable to just breed one. By pairing up high SV creatures and using certain items to preserve the highest SV stats, it's possible to hatch a generations of creatures which will end up in a perfect SV companion. From the moment when we leave our house in Zadar, we will encounter other players. The game encompasses some basic MMO features such as chat window with different tabs where players can communicate. While exploring the world, tamers might be challenged by NPCs into Temtem matches. During the completion of the main story, questing and fighting against challengers scattered around floating isles are the most reliable ways of earning income. Once players reach Endgame, exhausting their questing and NPC fighting options, money making gets a little bit harder. Daily and weekly activities help players make money. Winning PvP matches also earns some extra cash. Most wild Temtem encounters happen in tall grass during cave exploration or while surfing. Catching new creatures works in similar fashion to the Pokemon games. You have to weaken the Temtem and then cast a Temp card in its direction. Rarer Temtems might require more advanced Temp cards with higher catch rates. On very rare occasions, players might encounter a Luma Temtem, which is an equivalent of shiny Pokemon. Gathering Temtems and their Luma versions aren't the only collector's challenge. Hidden across Airborne Archipelago, there are Tem stickers representing various Temtems, places or human characters. Assembling the whole album is a great task. It is also rewarded on multiple steps through completion with helpful equipable items for our Temtems. As we are talking about collections, Temtem hosts multiple shops where players might buy various cosmetic items, clothes, headwear and new hairstyles. An important part of Temtem's cosmetic progression is acquiring your new home. After completing a quest obtainable on the Omninesia island, tamers will own a plot of land and a house which is customizable. Buying new stuff for our home and furnishing it creates a new dimension of progression and self-fulfillment for the players. Housing was never something that interested me, but it definitely has an appeal towards parts of the player base. This is an MMO, so showing off in front of others always was in its DNA. Various players' activities might end up leading to auction house or trade chat, two main ways of trading in game. With the release of the game, Crema introduced a season pass and in-game store. This decision was met with a backlash from players who kept up with Temtem since its early access release. This is not a free-to-play title. While it's not priced as high as AAA games, it still feels weird to have additional ways of monetization shoehorned into the experience. There are two currencies, one earned through gameplay and the other premium one, which technically can be earned through completing weekly challenges in game. The thing is, the amount of premium currency awarded through completing challenges is so minuscule that it makes it feel redundant. Both Shop and Season Pass offer cosmetic items like furniture, mounts, emotes, clothes and dice. Ah yes, this is another game which shamelessly sells single-use dice for your clothes. An awful, despicable decision. I am not surprised that many players are angry at Crema for double dipping into their fans' pockets. Very few items offered in store are even available to be bought through non-premium currency, and the prices are very high. Free tier of Season Pass looks extremely poor compared to the paid one, and it never feels good to check it out if you haven't spent money. It makes you feel like you are the second-rate player. I think I know why Crema introduced more monetization methods to the game. I do not believe it's done with nefarious intent. In my opinion, they realized way too late that without any subscription or a way to ensure a steady influx of money, they would not be able to keep the servers running. Operating and maintaining an MMO is a hard and expensive task. So the monetization behind Temtem feels awful, but I don't think it's done with bad intent. Okay, endgame time. Current MMO design standards acknowledge the importance of activities available to the players after they are done with the leveling process or the main story. Crema transforms a couple of features available earlier into late game grind. Min-maxing your team of Temtems with SVs and TVs. Breeding can be used as a reliable money-making scheme as well as a way to perfect your Temtem lineup. It can also be used to try to breed Lumatems if you are not interested in hunting for them in the wild or in Cypark. Cypark is an endgame zone. Each week opens a new rotation of Temtems with higher base SVs and higher chance for Lumas. Playing on Auction House can become a playstyle of its own. Same goes for the endless grind for the seasonal rewards or in-game shop cosmetic items. Crema designs its late-game activities around weekly or daily timer. Each day, tamers can run through floating islands with food parcel deliveries. Each week opens a new contest for catching the perfect koish, which is an extremely grindy fishing activity. Freedom Organization offers another weekly challenge based on catching and releasing Temtems. It's one of the best ways of making money in the game. Floating islands contain numerous hidden higher level zones. Going back to previous islands and exploring them thoroughly might be beneficial. Endgame opens up a new small island, Tamer's Paradise, focused on advanced content. The end of Clan Belsoto does not mean that Tamers are out of tasks to complete. Temtem encapsulates various post-main storyline quests. PvE enthusiasts should be thrilled to unlock lair raids. Currently, there are 3 lairs in the game. They offer high-value rewards as well as chance to capture a mythical Temtem. Players first need to unlock lair by interacting with stones assigned to every Temtem type. This content is reserved for groups of 3 to 5 people. Making group is easy. The raids, on the other hand, are a little bit trickier. Each group member has to advance through randomly generated path. Their goal is to collectively acquire enough jewels to be able to challenge the mythical Temtem boss at the end. Players are given a fresh set of Temtems. With each new step on their path, they are presented with choices. They can unlock party-wide buffs, unlock new Temtems for their temporary team, or new items. The structure of lairs is similar to a short roguelike run. A successful run awards player with an egg from a defeated mythical creature as well as some other rewards. As a fan of WoW's raids and PvE group content, this is my favorite endgame activity. Crema gives Temtem players a plethora of ways in which they can engage with the game. It's clear that the studio is focused really hard on making PvP competitive experience the best it can be. Eliminating RNG and allowing for individual skill to shine was a great decision. In PvP, Temtems are automatically leveled up to 100 and their SVs are getting maxed. So the only thing players have to work on is TV spread and unlocking needed techniques. Players are able to queue for competitive PvP from any place in the world. Each week, in-game tournaments are organized for tamers seeking thrills of vicious competition. Crema developers seem to know that you cannot force an esport, but I believe that with the amount of care they placed in the PvP department, they hope it will carry the game. And I have to give them a big thumbs up. As I said before, I kinda never appreciated Pokemon combat system in terms of PvP. It's focused more on out-predicting your opponent, trying to squish buffs and super effective attacks in the meantime. But it's a proven system. It works, and when I got accustomed to it, I kinda had more and more fun with my PvP matches in Temtem. I started to experiment with different off-meta picks. Let's admit it, I'm not very good in Temtem's PvP, so I landed really low in the competitive brackets. But it allowed me for an unshackled approach to the formula, which in turn made me learn and improve. Any live service, multiplayer-based game lives or dies by its community. For now, the community seems to be engaged but unsure about Temtem's future, a sentiment which Crema seems to share. In their responses to the fanbase, they said that they want to develop the game, improve aspects of it, and add more quality of life improvements as well as some new features. Developers responded negatively to questions about adding new islands or Temtems to the game in the near future. I guess it comes from their uncertainty about how well monetarily the game will do in the long run. Let's not forget that servers and maintenance cost money. A lot of money in fact. As I said before, I believe that this was a determining factor why Crema decided to extend its monetization methods. I'm not sure if they did it in the right way, but I hope that somehow they'll manage to keep Temtem growing. Not only by adding new features, but also by expanding its creature roster. I strongly believe that in the crazy, never-ending multiverse, there's at least one universe in which Crema succeeds in creating a great, expansive and vibrant platform based around Temtem. The question is it our universe? Time will tell. This is the part where I will analyze the most recent 100, maybe 200 Steam user reviews. I'm doing it mainly to see what other players think about the game, what they like and what they dislike. As always, let me remind you that I do not perceive my opinion as superior. Every sentiment and viewpoint matters as long as it's well argumented. At the time of making this video, Temtem sits at a score of 84 positive reviews out of more than 28,000 total reviews. What's interesting are the most recent reviews, which do not look as favorable. Let's dive in. The majority of positive reviews praise graphics, creature design and the fluentness of the game. Most people notice a great range of similarities between Temtem and Pokemon, but they also see the changes and upgrades that Crema's title brings to the table. You can even notice how many reviews seems to be written by long-standing Pokemon fans who also enjoyed the game. Multiple reviews praise Temtem as more realized version of Pokemon. A great number of user reviews, while positive, notice some smaller problems with the game. A great amount of grind, momentarily dull progression through islands, cringy dialogue, inconvenient exploration and backtracking until player unlocks new means of traveling. I have found a couple of reviews praising the story and writing, which got me interested. Some people claim that Temtem is a more adult-oriented version of Pokemon. When put like that, yeah, I can somewhat agree. In general, the story is more mature, but still it's inconsistent with a lot of juvenile banter between characters. Narrative switches tone very often. It's like Temtem tries to appeal both to kids and adults, but in the end cannot pick a consistent level for the narrative. Negative reviews focus greatly on the addition of Season Pass and in-game store. That's the reason why a lot of the most recent reviews drag the overall score of Temtem down. I already told you that I have a strong suspicion why it was done, but I agree with player base that it has been introduced poorly. Many negative reviews focus on weird pacing of the gameplay and story. That's true. There are incredibly interesting moments of the story, which are followed by boring long treks through routes packed with NPCs waiting to challenge players. After some time, it might feel a little bit tedious. Temtem is criticized by some as being too similar to Pokemon games. That's true. To be honest, when I started my adventure with the game, I was astonished at how reminiscent of Pokemon it felt. I still claim that a lot of systems borrowed by Temtem are transformed in a meaningful way. But undeniably, Crema's title could use more differentiation in order to confidently stand out. Temtem's achievements are designed in a way where most of them become truly obtainable during the endgame. There is only one trophy tied to story progression, and it's awarded for completing the whole narrative adventure. Completionists will have to spend a considerable amount of time in order to max out the achievements. Defeating Dojo Masters during our initial adventure does not award any trophies, but winning a rematch held on competitive Temtem rules awards a trophy. Another set of achievements is tied to interacting with shrines, which means that we have to evolve a Y at each place of power. It's safe to say that pursuing 100% achievement completion will require a decent high-level team of Temtems. So there will be a lot of grinding needed. And I mean a lot. Most endgame activities have an achievement tied to them. There are 2 achievements obtainable for lair raiding. Players are going to be challenged to catch a Temtem in Psy Park. There is a challenge for Koish fishing, completing 3 food parcel deliveries in 1 day, or completing all 3 Tem tiers in 1 week. Those are not hard challenges, but they will take time. Thankfully, all PvP achievements are quite easy. Tamers are tasked to qualify for 10 competitive placement matches. You can lose all of them and it still counts. Another PvP trophy requires to take part in tournament. Same as before, is about participation, not doing well. Unfortunately for all PvP haters, Temtem has one achievement tasking players to win a competitive match. Just a single victory is needed, but still, it might pose a problem for inexperienced tamers. Other than that, Temtem focuses on achievements tied to item usage. Throwing wish you well coins to every well in the game, using Tem spotters, assigning an item to a Temtem. Then there are trophies connected to cosmetic items, wearing differently dyed clothes or owning a set amount of furniture for your house. The last category of achievements are the ones tied to breeding and min-maxing. Those will require some learning. Temtem takes proven and trusted creature battling formula of Pokemon games and mixes it with MMO genre. Environments and especially creature design are top-notch. Simplistic, cartoony art style is complemented by an impressive soundtrack. Each step made in Airborne Archipelago is eerily reminiscent of Game Freak's franchise, as Temtem unashamedly draws massive amounts of inspiration from Pokemon. But this is not a cheap knockoff. Temtem builds upon the solid foundation laid by its predecessor. Gameplay mechanics offer their own spin on the formula. PvE activities connect really well with competitive PvP soul of the game. In that department, it's clear that developers put a heavy emphasis on fairness and skill when it comes to online matches. Casual audiences might find more appeal in hunting for cosmetics, rare Temtems, or developing and furnishing their in-game house thanks to housing system. Endgame offers a lot of variety, but relies heavily on grind. The plot, writing and pacing are uneven, mixing light-hearted cartoony storytelling with heavier, mature themes. The main story takes about 50 hours to finish. After that, the rest of Airborne Archipelago stands open before the players. In my opinion, even that 50-hour experience was solid enough to warrant Temtem's asking price. The underlying question to ask here is if the game will survive the test of time. I hope it will. I hope it will grow and expand its roster of interesting creatures and features. But for now, I recommend this game. Hey, I want to thank all of you for watching this video. I decided to break the formula and review a game that's pretty close to its launch window. I'm gonna stick to delayed reviews, but from time to time I might do this kind of launch reviews. If you liked it, then hit thumbs up, subscribe and maybe leave a comment. If you didn't like it, then feel free to dislike the video and let me know what you didn't enjoy. The question for you after this video is this type of Pokemon-like MMO aligning with your vision of how it should look like, or would you change some mechanics or gameplay aspects? So that's all from me, bye.